think it's a lot easier. And welcome to a very strange yet crispy morning out here in the African bush. My name is Ali and Sabi is pre-showing with me this morning, and we're not too sure what we're looking for. There was a concert of lions last night and they wouldn't keep quiet, but it sounded like they were all so far away. Now I know also there was a leopard seen on the dam cam that apparently had a big fat nap at the dam for quite a while, and I think Taylor's gone to look for them, and Seb and I are just in the search for, well, Seb wants to see a leopard because he's outraged because he hasn't seen one in the last few drives. So, well, leopards definitely on the books. I don't know where... Want a leopard. I feel like that's where Casey gets her tantrums from, I can see now. No, not too sure. Well, this is a good road as any. I know Shadow likes that Shibamwe, and I wonder if the one at the camera was in actually Hosanna or Shingile, because Tristan said that they were going to carry on coming north. So if they're there, I'm sure Taylor will do a good job to find them, and maybe we can find another one. We do know there's no shortage of leopards around this area anyway, which is quite cool. Now, I was hoping to see some leopards or lions here, and of course we set up looking for ground hornbills. That's actually what we were looking for, and unfortunately we couldn't find them, despite that they were calling. It's almost like the lions. They call before we get mobile, and then by the time we're out looking for them, they have actually disappeared. The difference being that ground hornbills actually have wings, not like the lions.
Good morning, everybody. We're racing around trying to find hyenas, which we just had. This is Safari Live.
Standing by.
To a very overcast day out here in the Sabi Sand in South Africa. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me is Craig, aka Batman. Now, we were just at the hyena den where there were two adults. One of them was Ribbon, not sure as to who the other one was, and Tima was full of beans racing around. Now remember, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now, broadcasting from two different locations in Africa. So it's not just South Africa that's with us today. Well, you're going to be greeted by Scott and Davy a little bit later in Kenya and the Mara Triangle. But let's try and get us some hyenas. Now, because it's live and interactive, it means you can ask us questions. So you can hashtag safariLIVE. Well, here's one hyena. Now, it's quite interesting. Craig and I pulled up to the hyena den. It was fantastic. And Timo, I've never seen a hyena so excited to see a car in my entire life. She came racing down the termite mound and greeted us with a big happy face. And then they sat quietly for a little bit, in the next minute, and Timo raced into the burrow as if she was told to do so by the adults, and the adults got up and sprinted straight past us, as if they'd heard a distress call or something like that. I don't know what they were responding to, but it was nothing obvious that Craig and I could hear. Now they're moving that way. Both of them are, which is interesting. I don't quite know exactly what's going on. I'm also trying to figure out. It's a bit too early still. It was quite funny. We might actually have to show you the video, because I was videoing Little Intima coming up to the car, and then you can, I'll show it to you in a little bit when we stop, and then you'll see the adults just run. Not like they'd got a fright or anything, but like they were running with purpose to get somewhere. But now they're not running, now they're walking. Wrong radio, Chantal. I don't know if Ali's getting your comms because you're talking to me. There's the hyenas. They're by this big scotia tree, by this big boerbean. You might be able to see at the tops of the green leaves. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see the hyena just yet, but they're down there somewhere. But we'll keep sitting here and waiting to see if the hyenas come back across. Let's go across now to Ali, the other car in the Sabi Sands, so she can say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Indeed, we are very happy to be out and about. My name is Ali, and on camera with me this morning is Sam. And if you've got any questions or any comments, please feel free to send them through using the hashtag safariLIVE. Now, we haven't made our decision for the morning just yet. All we know is that Seb wants to see leopards, so we've come onto the southern part of the reserve where Shungile and Hosanna were seen yesterday. I think maybe one of those two was sleeping at the dam, but I think Taylor's going to go explore around that area. And we're going to carry on looking for pretty much anything down here. Like I said, we set up this morning looking for the beautiful ground hornbills, but they were nowhere to be found. And so far we haven't picked up any tracks for anything on the road. So it's been a bit of on the quiet side so far. I think it's also because it's a bit of a cold morning. It's a bit crispy, but maybe later on. I just want to turn down my radio comms. So we're at Treehouse Dam now, and pretty much nothing happening around here. It's just the good old Egyptian goose that dominates the water sources. And then nothing around here. Good morning, goose. Oh, there's two of them actually. I thought there was only one. I think it's time to start preening their feathers, time to start getting everything going on before they're ready to fight everyone off the water, because this is their dam. And they can be such loud creatures. I mean, we've heard them often where they just go on and on and on and on and pretty much not allow anyone else to come into this particular dam. Now, like we said, not too many things happening around here, not even the terrapins or the little birds. So we're going to carry on in our search. But I think while we do that, let's go over to Scott all the way in the Mara, and he's already managed to find the biggest animal of them all.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Masai Mara. As you can see, there's a herd of elephants with another herd of buffalo beyond them in the distance. My name is Scott. I'm teamed up with Dave on camera, and we've got a visitor on board today, Jerry from the Final Control. We are allowing her to escape those confines and get some fresh air, so good to have her with us, and looking forward to trying to find her rhino. That has been her request. If any of you have any other requests of what you may like to see or do today, please do send through your thoughts and comments to hashtag safariLIVE. A great start to the morning as this herd of elephants very casually look for little snacks in and amongst these plains. Well, Janine, your wish has already been catered for. You asked to see elephants, so we've got off to a good start with you. This is a beautiful big cow. I found the cows up here in Kenya tend to have quite large tusks, especially compared to the ladies down in Djuma. Now, as good as our start has been, I've got a feeling it could get better. There have been a few vehicles lurking around the Djuma Pride's lugger. They tend to hang out in quite a set spot. And I can actually see a lion from here. Let's have a look from here, Davy. It's a long shot. But basically, between the trees there, to the right of that bush, you can see a little pale shape. About 20 meters to the right of it, there's a lioness lying in the dark green bushes. No, you're on it. If you zoom, can you zoom in more? And left a tiny bit. There she is. We can just see her pale form. So, we shall head on down there and see what's going on. The pride consists of 4 lioness and 13 cubs. At least that was the last head count of the cubs. Sadly, with cubs, the mortality rate can be quite high, so there could have been one that has not been so fortunate in the last week or so since we saw them. So let's go and find out. Marvelous. Good to be on safari with both Ali and Taylor down in the Sabi Sands, and I really loved being in the control room yesterday afternoon because I got to see Taylor and Tristan. When we out on drive, we don't get to see and hear what the other presenters are saying, so it was a very, very pleasant change of scenery. Hello to our Lara Moore. You would like to know what elephants smell like here. I'm guessing fairly similar to the smell of other elephants throughout Africa. In all the different parts of Africa I have worked, I haven't noticed a distinctly different smell. And the only time, I mean, they're not the most smelly of animals, to be honest, unless you're right up close and personal with them, I guess, which we don't really get so often. But one smell that is quite typical and common to pick up of elephants is that of when they are in must. It's a very distinctive, sweet, pungent smell, almost kind of like a nicely smelling wet blanket, if that's possible. Oh. Interesting question, though. I'd like to bounce one back at you and ask you, what do elephants that you've experienced smell like, and how is it that you came to ask that question? It's an interesting one, and that way I may be able to give you a little bit more info on the topic. Oh, well, there's some exciting prospects down in Djuma with that leopard that was seen on the dam cam, so why don't you go and see how Taylor's investigation is going to try and track that beast down.
Well, we haven't quite started on the leopard just yet. We're still trying to figure out our hyena incident this morning and what exactly is going on over there. Now, there's lots and lots of hyena tracks. I don't understand what they just raced from. It was amazing to see that. That whole experience just says to me how deaf we as humans really are. And I mean, I think that when you're working in the bush, your hearing is pretty acute compared to the city folk. Just because we don't have all those sounds like sirens and traffic, it's just very quiet out here. And they just ran. I can't find them anymore. They went so quickly. They obviously took routes that we aren't able to go through. So I think let's go back towards the den. Now, I know that Tundi was seen, or everyone suspects that it was Tundi that was on the dam cam, which would make sense because I definitely had lots of leopard tracks yesterday. It was a hot topic of discussion, and if I just only had known that the ones that I'd found on Gari Cut Line on the fire break between Vubu Road were the really fresh ones, we probably would have found Tundi yesterday. But I was told that those tracks were from the morning, but I don't think so. I don't think that those tracks were from yesterday morning. I think they were from that afternoon in between game drive. It makes sense if Tundi just all of a sudden popped up at the dam too. She could have just been in and around that area somewhere. So I think we're going to slowly start making our way back to the hyena den. I'm going to keep scanning around here to see if I can see them coming through the bushes. I had one hyena track and it looked like it was running, and just on that second shortcut off Gallagher shortcut. It's just very interesting. I don't know what they must have heard. And then if they're not back at the den, we'll probably leave them for a little bit and then go there in the afternoon, not in the afternoon, a little bit later. Otherwise, we're going to check in Vubu Road, we're going to check Gallagher Pan, we're going to check all around those areas to see if we can pick up on any leopard track. But let's go across to Ali now. I know she said she was heading south, and I wonder if she's picked up any of her own tracks.
Well, we've picked up on some tracks, but we think they are the ones of the leopard that was seen in the dam cam yesterday. But in order to make Seb happy, we have found more spots. How's that? The little Janet, he seems like he's decided that this is the place to live. So he's all, or she, I don't really know. It's all cuddled up in there inside of the hole. Beautiful little thing. And those screenshots from yesterday just showing its little face, they were so sweet. So I am hoping that maybe it's going to pick out and say hello once more. But I don't want to spend too long here, because now I've taken it on. I've decided we need to get this genet habituated to the vehicles, because if we get it climbing up and down the tree or in and out during the night, that would be just stunning. So beautiful. Where's your little face? Right, his face is just hiding on the right hand side. But what a great tree you found. Great real estate so early in the morning. Look at that. And it's perfect. Look at that camouflage. They would never know that it's in there. And like I said, if it hadn't been for Byron... Oh, there it is moving again, giving us the tail. We would have never been able to find it. Although I think perhaps the hole is not the most comfortable of places, because he keeps turning around and repositioning and rearranging itself. Oh. Interesting. So I think the hole is actually bigger than what we think, and it's longer, going upwards. Oh. That's the tail that we're looking at. So I think maybe he's gone onto the second floor of his residence. You see, there are 2 more holes up all the way on the tree, so I wonder if the 2 are actually connected. Now, that's a bit too high for me to go and have a look around, but also I don't want to disturb it. Michael, you say it's an awesome find. I completely agree. I would like to take all the credit for it, but it was not me who found it initially. It was Byron, who actually saw it the other day. So we've been coming and checking just because it's such an amazing little thing to see. But I think he's decided, like I said, to go onto the second floor or higher ground into his tree. So we're going to leave him and carry on, because we don't want to disturb him. Ali, you're wondering if the genets only come out at night. Well, yes, mostly they do. So I think this guy has been out and about looking for food, and then he's just come back into the hole, and that's why he needs to have a day-long nap. So I think we can't see him anymore, so we're going to carry on. But Seb, there you go, spots for the morning.
Yes. I want orange spots though.
You want bigger spots?
Bigger spots.
Come on, Seb. But at least we got that little one, and it's such a nice one. Sassy, you're asking if I think the genet will have babies in there. Well, if it's a female, I reckon it's a very good place to be in. It's a very, very nice tree hole that it's found itself. So why not? Oh, it would be amazing. Imagine, like, now I'm getting ahead of myself and imagining this whole story where we're going to be able to see the little ones one day coming out of the hole with its parent. Oh, that would be great. But I think for now, just getting it used to us and not going onto the second floor of his residence would probably be better. And they are such pretty creatures. I love them. Oh, interesting. So if you see ahead of me right there, that's a sign of an elephant. Michael, you're wondering what family... That is beautiful. What family the genets belong to. As far as I know, they belong to the Mustelidae family, and they're related to mongoose and honey badgers, if I'm not mistaken. And it's all a family that's characterized by the presence of anal glands that they use for marking their territory. Now, I think that is the family. The Viveridae is the name of the family, and honey badgers are Mustelidae. I think I'm getting a bit confused now. Too many scientific names in my head. So let me check it. Alright, I'm going to try and answer this question and find out what the story is. But let's go to Scott in the meantime, who's managed to find a cat for Seb. Right, so I was here because this was bothering me. I don't know why I said Mustelida, but sometimes I have like funny things in my head. But we have checked, so genets and civets are in the Viveridae family. So I think my second choice was the correct one, and I think we're looking at a large spotted genet. because yesterday we saw this beautiful little white markings and just the spots. They seem a bit more rosy than the other ones, right? Sorry, I just want to check now for the honey badger just to make sure that I'm not making things up, because I would hate to be wrong. Honey badger. Why is the honey badger not here? Probably because it's under B for badger. John, you're wondering what baby genets are called. That is a very interesting question. I'm not too sure. I don't know if it says anything here. I would just call it a baby genet. But, suppose that it would be a cub, a little cub, or a kitten maybe because it's so small. I don't know. My book doesn't mention anything. That is a very interesting question, but I'm going to have to get back to you on that one because I am not certain whatsoever of their family. Now, yes, so the honey badger is the Mustelidae family, just checked. And then the genets are the Viveridae family. Just to answer that final question, we've managed to put an end to this mystery. I think I still need to finish all my coffee before I can think straight and not get things confused, so I apologize for that. Now we're going to carry on. Whew. I can't even put my gloves on the right way. All right. Onwards and forwards, as Tristan would say. See what else is lurking around the Molowati. But it seems like the sun is now almost starting to shine. Let me just get us onto the bump here. I think maybe Seb will be able to get us a beautiful view of... Do I need to go forward, Seb?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Because look at all these clouds. And I love it when the clouds are around because then we're not as cold as we normally are. But also because they produce such beautiful drama with the sunlight. So look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I love those rays of sunshine coming through. It almost seems like there's a comet flying in the sky. That is very pretty. Alright, sunshine, you need to start warming everything up so that the animals carry on walking so that we can start finding more spots for Seb. That is very pretty. Well, not a bad way to start our morning. Now, let's see what secrets are hiding along Treehouse Dam. Not Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, because we've come from Treehouse Dam. And perhaps there will be something else around here. Some more leopard tracks to try and follow up. Perhaps some elephants? I think I heard something about elephants. Alright, seems like Taylor's driving on Gallagher Shore. Let's go over to her and find out.
Alright, hello everybody, sorry about that. Gremlins are out and about as it seems. Still driving around. We just popped past the hyena den again. No one is home, so I don't know where those adults have gone. I'm a little bit on the confused side. But anyways, we're going to go past Gallagher Pan now and see if we can find anything. I haven't even seen my first bird this morning yet. They're all fast asleep. Absolutely fast asleep. Once we get to Gallagher Pan though, I shall show you the video of the hyenas running away so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully it will work. But let's get around the corner. They must have heard something. It's the only thing that I can think of that they ran like that. But it also just shows you that they don't necessarily need to communicate in sounds that we can hear. Going around here. Let's have a look at the pad. We'll also be able to see if there's any tracks if anybody came down for a drink. But if that leopard was at Vuyatela Dam, I don't know where she would have gone from there. Because supposedly Tumba was with her as well yesterday. So he must be around on the property. Perhaps just tucked away somewhere. Some more, lots of hyena tracks going up and down here. Okay, not far from the pan now. We'll get there shortly. And you can just see with all the clouds, the sun is trying its absolute best to poke through. But unfortunately, It's not working hard enough, but it has got quite a thick layer of clouds to burn through. I can only imagine it's going to be very warm today. Very, very warm. So not quite the sunrise that I'm sure you're all hoping for, but it is something. Isn't that lovely? Right, let's get to this dam. Siberia, Sumi, you want me to find you a fancy bird today? What, one that's wearing perhaps a top hat or dressed in a suit and tie? We'll look for one of those. Whether we'll find a fancy bird out here on a Tuesday morning, I'm not so sure. You have better luck for finding fancy birds, I find, on a Friday night. Seems to be the best time to locate them. We'll try our best. And we'll see whatever Craig considers a fancy bird, that'll be today's fancy bird edition, and we'll try and find it. Let's have a look at the pan. Right. Oh, hang on. There's lots of tracks here. I think I need to sort of siphon through them and figure out who's who in the zoo, as I always like to say. Let's go across to Ali, though. She's managed to get some grey giants.
Beautiful great giant it is indeed, and we almost drove past this because we didn't see it, but now we are wanting to show you the world upside down. There it is, the real one, the one standing upright. Seems to be a bull, also judging by a very round forehead and the fact that it's pretty much on its own this morning, coming down for a drink. Now, the fact that we are a bit higher up perhaps is tricking me into thinking that he is slightly smaller than what he actually is, but he reminds me of the one that we saw yesterday trailing the herd of the half-trunk. So it could be it. Perhaps he's been following that trunk, but he was definitely coming down to the water with that typical swagger of elephants when they walk and nothing can get in their way. This water is mine, so poof, poof, poof. Carried on walking, and now very happy to be drinking. Scott says that he thinks that all elephants smell the same. Well, I agree with Scott. I think they have a very particular smell. It's almost like leathery smell and dusty. But yeah, I think they all smell the same. There we go, having a bit of a drink. I wonder how long these guys have been drinking. And this particular elephant seems to be in a bit of a mission, because he's had a quick drink, and I think that was pretty much it. So I wonder if actually we cannot start threading a story or a storyline of what's actually happening. Maybe there are more bulls that are being attracted now to the half-drunk female. Perhaps she is coming into heat, and she, with her pheromones that she's putting out, she's bringing them all to the area. Or perhaps this bull just got tired of all of them and came for a drink. That is also a possibility. Lara Moore, you say that you think that elephants smell like wet dirt. Well, I suppose they can once they are wet, but not all the time, I don't think. Also, I haven't been able to smell an elephant really up close, so I don't think they would be too happy with me approaching them on foot. Likely there will be a trunk and a flying alley right after that. Well, this elephant seems a bit puzzled. You see, he's a bit, he's Mike, you're wondering if elephants are scared of mice. Funny, it's been a question that has been pestering humanity for quite a while. And I think it all came from a legend that stated, and I can't remember, I think it was actually a story that somebody wrote in the 1500s, 1800s, somewhere around there, about a mice going up an elephant's trunk. And that's why the elephants were terrified of it. Then I think it was even the Mythbusters that did a study just to try and find out if this was the case. And it was determined that they don't like mice, but probably not because they are afraid that they're going to go up into their trunk, but because they can see the movement, but they can't find the animal too quickly. So they just get a little bit startled, or at least that's what I've read up that states. So not particularly afraid of the animal itself, but the fact they can't see it all too well. Right, we're going to find out what this beautiful bull wants to do, but while we do that, let's head over to Scott, who is enjoying the company of a queen on a mound.
Well, it sure sounds like the safari has got off to a great start with all the animals that have been found. This lioness, as you can see, is taking it easy, perched up on a termite mound. Now, I'm not exactly certain how many Pride members are here, but there moves some line through the grass. I think they're moving towards that termite mound. I think I got a glimpse of one. There were some cubs dotted around this area. Oh, there we go. There's a few little fur balls bouncing around. Possibly Mom's head on the left of the screen. And what's interesting is for the first time ever, oh, we've got somebody coming past, Avi. For the first time ever, we've actually seen the smallest sets of cubs, which are probably around 1.5 to 2 months old, with their slightly bigger cousins, which are probably about a month older. So I saw them interacting, which was really exciting for the first time. So things are developing. It seems like those tiny little fluff balls have finally been introduced to the rest of the Pride, and I'm sure they are loving their new playmates. There's, like I said, 3 are the smallest, then 3 slightly older, and then there's another 7 that are about twice as old, about 7 to 8 months old, I'm guessing, by this stage. So 13 cubs in total, and 4 lioness. You wouldn't think that now, looking into all this grass. But there is a whole bunch of lions possibly lying here. The Pride does split up from time to time, with lionesses going and doing their own thing. However, I think that was mainly because the lioness were nurturing the smallest cubs, keeping them away from the slightly bigger and more boisterous cubs. And we are extremely fortunate in that they often spend a lot of time in and around a riverbed, which is between us and them at the moment. It's always a bit of a gamble which side of the riverbed to drive along when trying to view them. Very good. Oh, what's that that's poked its head up there to the right of the termite mound? Is it another lion just to the right?
Oh, to the right.
I can just see some white ears there. Oh, yeah, that's another lion dotted in the grass there. Hard to tell from here whether it's one of the adults or one of the slightly older cubs. But I think due to their situation not being hugely active and being concealed by the long grass, we may head off. There's been a report of a leopard not too far from here. I've yet to show you a leopard in the Masai Mara, so that would be a wonderful thing to be able to do. Thankfully, we've got the team down in Djuma who are doing a great job in consistently trying to keep the leopard sightings up. And Ali was actually interestingly asking if there have been any leopard sightings in the Mara. I'm not sure how many live sightings there have been. I know Brent's had an incredible sighting with Dave actually on camera after dark following a leopard, and they were following using a thermal kind of monoscope to keep an eye on it without interfering on what it was doing, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. So Brent cleverly worked out that it must have disappeared underground. So with a bit more fishing around, they actually worked out that this leopard had gone down a termite mound and it came out with a warthog in its beak, of all things. So I think that's the one confirmed sighting. I've had one sighting of a beautiful, huge male leopard. I can actually show you where I saw it from here. On that corner, Davy, on our driveway, if you just kind of zoom up onto that hill, a little bit to the left. There we go, that tree that you can see kind of, oh, where's my fingers? Too far. If you keep zooming in, there's a tree that's on the corner of our driveway, but basically up on that ridge, we saw a massive male. So, who knows, possibly the vehicles that have found a leopard not so far have found that same big male. That would be a bonus. But you have gratefully, or luckily, have another wonderful predator that Ali has found.
We have, and it was actually thanks to Seb that heard the grey go-away birds alarming. Now I'm going to stay quiet for a few seconds so that you hear all the racket of all the birds trying to mob this Faroese eagle owl out of here. I'm sure you guys can hear them. Everyone is quite upset that there's a predator here, and this is probably the biggest owl we get in this area, and it was chased off a tree earlier on, and then everyone followed it onto this one, And maybe they're gonna even actually make it move off from this particular tree. So the owls are, and especially such a big owl as this one, they are potential predators for all the birds that are around here. So what they're doing now is they're mobbing them. So they're all making noises and sounds, and sometimes they even, if they're flying, they will try and pick it as they start flying by, just to try and get it to move away and go somewhere else where they're not. It's a bit of a tricky one. Forward.
Park over there. Go park over there and I'll let
Okay. Right, we're going to try to reposition, see if maybe we can have another view of this beautiful owl. Alison, you're saying it's a new bird on your list. That's amazing, and it's one of my favorite ones. I absolutely adore owls, all of them. Ooh, this is going to be a tricky one because we've got to go a bit far away to be able to spot it.
just mention that the camera is not working properly.
All right. The camera is not working properly, guys, but I think Seb is still going to try his best to get us a look, as it is a very pretty one. And unfortunately, our elephant, he seemed to be a little bit musty, and he's carried on moving away at quite a pace. So we got a bit distracted with this owl that we can't see now. I could before, but now I've lost it. So you see, even the camouflage, for us, it gets in the way. Yes. I don't know how to do it. Okay. Yeah, I think it's this chunk. There, no. It's hard to try to see it and then try to frame it in the camera. I think you are onto the right branch, though. Exactly there where you are. Just zoom in here. A little bit to your left. The other left. There it is, on top. Yeah. Oh, hard one. Huh. Well done, owl. So the owl was stubborn enough to stay in the tree in this big jackalberry, and it hasn't moved off. And then the rest of the birds have decided that it's enough, and they've actually left. That's why it's so quiet now. This is such a wonderful find. And normally we find these owls in very big trees. They are very big owls, so they need bigger nesting areas. But it seems like it's the morning of the tiny mysteries. I love it. Oh, there we go. The typical owl bobbing off the head. Mike, you're wondering if owls can see during the daylight. Yes, absolutely. And some owls even hunt during the daylight, like the pearl-spotted owlet or the barred owl. But they are better. They have a higher success rate during the night, but they will prefer, to hunt during the night than rather during the day. I think this owl that we're looking at, it's probably just finished with its night foraging and probably looking for a place to rest up for the day. Now, if you're looking at the constant bobbing of the head, because they have such big eyes, the eyes are actually, they can't move in their sockets, so they have to constantly move their heads to be able to see and focus what they're looking at. So I think this particular owl is probably wondering what we are and what we're up to. And it's beautiful. And this particular species of owl, they've got beautiful pink eyelids, so hopefully it'll close an eye and it will show us. Cindy, you're wondering if they're called eagle owls because of their size or if because they're more closely related to eagles. Well, as far as I know, it's because of their size. They are considerably bigger than some of the other owls that we get in this particular area. They are normally found in pairs, so I wonder if perhaps the other one is not somewhere around here. And I've been hearing, I hear them every so often during the night, and I think some of the guys, I think it was Tristan that actually said that he's seen them before in the Molowati. So yeah, I managed to take one big one off our list because it's a very exciting one, because I absolutely adore owls and they're such a cool find. Maybe this is because the great go-away birds are always alarming in this particular area. So I wonder if these owls haven't actually been making use of this section of the Molowati as their home. And that's why it was so adamant that it was the birds that had to leave and not it. Well, Seb, I know these are not spots, but this is just as cool.
Yeah, for sure. That already made my morning. Yeah,
mine too. Morning made. Michael, you're wondering if it swivels its head to judge distance. Well, amongst other things, it can do that, but like I was saying earlier, because their eyes are so big, they're fixed in their sockets. So while we can sometimes stand still and then look to our sides, I mean, if you're standing still now, if you'd like to see the corners of your screen, or perhaps go, you don't have to really turn your head to see everything that could be around your field of view. The owls can't do that. They can only look straight in one direction, let's put it that way. So if they want to look a bit to the right or a bit to the left, then they have to bob their head and move around to be able to focus and have an idea of what's going on around there. So obviously, great evolutionary adaptations come with certain costs for the animals, and this is the way that the owls deal with those enhanced eyes that allow them, of course, to then absorb more light even during the night when there's very little light, and then be slightly more successful when they go hunting. Oh, you're so pretty. I'm so happy with this find. Byron is going to be super jealous. Elizabeth, you're wondering if they all mate for life. Well, as far as I know, the eagle owls do, and a lot of the eagles and bigger birds that we get in this particular area do, and they will not search for another mate unless their mate dies, which is quite noble of all of them. But now I'm intrigued. Now I want to know where the other one is, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was actually another eagle owl sitting on this tree, but because it's so hard to actually see, maybe we haven't been able to spot it yet. That would be would be quite a prize. But I think it's pretty much done. Well, now we know what to look for when we come down onto this area, onto that big jackalberry. Oh, it's time to start grooming. I feel like maybe this owl is now settling in for the day, so let's go over to Scott and enjoy his sight of the daybirds.
Well, this wattled starling, I feel, certainly fits into the fancy category with those bright yellow wattles, a little bit of red between the eyes, and that white mask. So that is the one fancy bird that we can contribute from the Mara. And we're actually quite lucky. There's a few birds, other birds I'd like to show you. One of which is a flock of hardy-dar ibis that are hunting in a pack. And what I've noticed is that the hardy-dar ibis are darker here, considerably darker than the individuals down south. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Also quite fancy with that iridescent shimmering green wing. So I think we'll claim that as a second fancy bird. They've also got quite a fancy long beak that they insert into the ground in search of crickets and worms. Very sophisticated technology allows them to work out what they're actually grabbing onto under the ground. They've also got quite white eyes. So I've noticed that these hardy-dar are considerably different, possibly a subspecies to the ones down in South Africa. And another bird that will definitely be fancy for lack of its ability to fly. It's about 2 o'clock, Davy, on the edge of the kind of little green belt there.
Well, yeah.
Down there. A lady ostrich, all on her lonesome, with her head in the grass, looking for snacks. Marvelous. Tally-ho, you say the lapwing was number 82 on your list, so that's good news. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to get you up to 100 today. Let us know of some critters that you know have been seen but you have yet to see, and we'll try and hunt them down. It sounds like today is going to be a drive that is geared towards birds, though. Now, hello to Ander. You would like to know what is my favorite bird? Probably the crowned eagle. It's an incredibly beautiful raptor, and not only that, they are incredibly formidable hunters. So, both beautiful and effective. They hunt large prey like monkeys. There will be some that move around the Mara. They like thick forested areas. They are well suited to hunting through thick forests as opposed to another kind of large eagle, the martial eagle, which is more suited to more open areas and hunting in open clearings. The crowned eagle can take off, I'm told, from the ground and fly vertically straight up, almost like a helicopter. So very powerful, deep, broad wings. I don't think I've ever been able to show you one. We had one or two glimpses of crowned eagles in Djuma, but not many. Hello to Flick or Bick or Snick. Didn't quite copy your name. Tim, thank you. Tim, good to have you with us. You would like to know what ostriches actually use their wings for now that they don't do much flying or any flying. And interestingly, they use them to display. So for courting, the males and females will kind of roll their shoulders, you could say. And also when they're running excitedly, which is kind of one of their displays, they again will roll their shoulders and therefore their wings in a wild display as they weave their head from side to side. It's an awesome, awesome thing to see, and it is something we will be able to show you guys at some point with all the ostrich around here. Oh, well, the cool birds continue to come through. Taylor has found a small miniature owl.
We've got a little owl indeed that look like barred owlets. It's just we can see the spots on the head. No? One flies. Craig, there is that second one in the middle. You've got it? You've got it? There it is? Oh, you can't zoom. We're stuck at the moment. Craig is basically laying down, but you can see the little owlet just in the middle of your screen at the top. There's a male and female here, which is quite cool. They are barred owlets, which is very nice to, of course, see. To how high.
Kudu, hello. Sorry, I think some of the gremlins have attacked Taylor, but fear not, we have managed to find some beautiful kudu feeding around on all the monkey thorns. I don't even think of the name of the tree. Now, it seems like there's a combination of all ages. We've got this beautiful female, and then just behind her there's another young one, and I think Seb was going to show the young male, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he's moved off. It's a bit hard to see them all around here because this is quite a bit of a thicket. So they're all hiding in very well, which of course is what they want to do because they don't want to be spotted by any potential predators. See those beautiful white markings that almost look like bird droppings, as a lot of people say, actually break their general body pattern or their body shape, and it allows them to blend in better with their background, and harder for the predators that see in black and white to actually distinguish that that belongs to an animal and that is not actually sunlight or light, just light, coming through the clouds this morning. Now they're all quite happy feeding around here. And you seem to be a bit of an older gal, just judging by your tattered ears. And they are feeding very ferociously. Seems like these guys are very, very hungry. Now it is a bit of a cold morning, so everybody's got to start eating, or it's perhaps got to eat a little bit more just to be able to metabolize and keep warm. That's the same as us. If you have a very cold day, you either eat a bit more just to be able to have enough energy stored in your body to produce enough body heat or to maintain a certain body temperature. But also, and if you're anything like me, you'll spend your whole day either with a cup of tea or a cup of hot coffee just to make sure that you're warm. So I think this is what's happening now. Everyone's trying to have enough to be able to carry on in life. Hello, beautiful girl. I love it when they start walking like that, and of course they're both their ears face forward, just looking for any danger ahead. It's amazing that we can't really see the rest of them. They're all hiding in between the bushes. Oh, there's a youngster, a smaller one in between. It's hard to see them all around. And I think it's quite a big group. I think maybe we have around maybe 10, 15 of them. But this is the one that is a bit more out in the open, as the rest of them are very hard to spot. It's always very funny to see how they eat. It's almost like they struggle to get everything off the branches of the tree. Beautiful youngster. Colleen, you're wondering if kudus have 2 hooves or 3. They've got two hooves, and they're normally easy to tell if it's a kudu when you see them walking on the road. And if we see any tracks later on, I'll try to point them out for you. But normally the length of their track is the same as their width roughly in the middle of the track, so it's a good way of identifying them. Now, this kudu doesn't seem to be in the greatest condition. I think maybe she's got a little bit of mange, which is not uncommon at this time of the year. There are some diseases that some conditions that start affecting some of the creatures because of lack of food and just general stress or in their body condition because of the lack of food, but I don't think it's anything we need to worry about. Now we've got a youngster that wants to play. I was kind of hoping that he was going to go, oh, yes, go on top of the termite mound. Come on, be the king or the queen. No, maybe not yet. Gotta learn from Shadow's little cub. That's the best place to be. I'm going to leave this beautiful kudu and carry on, but let's go over to Scott, who's managed to find another bird.
Well, sorry to hear that kudu doesn't seem to be in the best state. Not the same for this very fancy lilac-breasted roller. It's looking very, very well. It's just had a small bite to eat. It flew down and sniped something out of the long grass below it. And it's got some visitors nearby which are possibly helping to flush its prey out of the grass. Some elephants. A beautiful herd, little youngster, big cows, a mixed batch. And we're moving through this area in the hope that we would find some other large grey beasts. There's a black rhino that has a territory within this area, and it likes to move between these croton thickets. The crotons are the bushes with the orangey leaves, well, also green. But no joy with the black rhino yet. I was lucky enough to have a great sighting of it on my first drive ever here, but have yet to had much joy since then. Maybe our luck today will change. They are such cool animals, one that I haven't spent much time with in my wanderings through Africa. And a little interesting thing that I didn't know before I got up here to East Africa is that even though there are white rhino existing up here in quite large populations in various areas, they actually don't occur naturally this far north up into Africa. So they were relocated here as part of an initiative to keep populations of white rhino in the wild. Even though it's not their perfect usual habitat, they tend to actually do very well in various parts of East Africa. But here in the Masai Mara, there are no white rhino. There haven't been any introduced here, so it's just the remaining populations of black rhino that occur here. Whereas down in South Africa, you get both the black and the white. But certainly, I guess, depending on where you are, general rule is that white rhino are more prolific than the black. Also very different nature and behavior. The black rhino are quite short-tempered, a lot smaller than the white rhino. So they tend to be quite interesting animals to view. They can often come charging up to the vehicle and veer off at the last second, which is obviously a heart-pounding experience. So I just want to drive through an area where we may get a sign of another pride of lioness that border the territory of the Angama Pride. They are called the Olololo Pride, as far as I'm aware. There's 3 lionesses within the pride, and they often hang around the big dominant males of this area. Oh, we've got another fancy bird. At 1 o'clock, you can just see a kind of a black dot in the grass, Davy. Beautiful. Now, looking at all these beautiful birds this morning, Max's mom would like to know if the type of food that they eat will affect the color of their plumage. And I guess it will have an effect. If they are eating well, when it comes time to get into breeding plumage, you'd think that better nutrition would assist them in creating brighter plumage. So I think it definitely has got some kind of a correlation with the amount of food they eat. But in a normal scenario, I think food doesn't play the biggest role. It's more kind of the time of year for certain species. Some birds will only come into their breeding plumage when it's breeding season, and then they'll look quite dull and drab for the rest of the year. Whereas others, like the lilac-breasted roller, they always look good. So there's a combination of different types of kind of plumages. Some birds stay the same, others vary throughout the year. Hello to Roshni. You'd like to know how many bird species we find here in the Mara. I'm not entirely sure, but I would hazard a guess while some of you guys work that out for me, please. Thank you. I would guess it to be around 300 birds. Would be a reasonable kind of amount of birds to see in an ecosystem as diverse as this. I just want to stop and get you some better visuals of this busted or korhaan. I'm actually not entirely sure which one it is, so I'm going to get out my book and work it out with you. So take a close look. Very clearly distinctive black chest and black neck with white along the sides. So that's going to be a useful pose for us to remember when trying to work out who this guy is. I'm almost certain it is a male, and I think the most common busted or korhaan that we get out here is the rufous crested busted, I think. Let's see. Sorry, not the rufous crested, the buff crested, which this is not. Let's have a look at the bird here, Dave. So, judging by what I've seen, I would write off the buff crested. That's one that we definitely do get here, but there's not enough white on the side of its neck. There's more of a grey colour there. Whereas at the bottom here, we get the black-bellied busted, as well as the heart-libs busted. Both look very similar with that black chest and throat stripe with a white kind of border. So the distinguishing feature is here on the head. The heart-libs has got a white eye, whereas the black-bellied has got a more reddish eye. So let's have a closer look at this individual and see if we can work out whether it's the heart-libs or the black-bellied. It's a little bit far. Oof. It's got a dark eye, as far as I can tell. Yeah, that's a dark eye. So, to me, it seems like this is the black-bellied busted. I hope you all agree. If not, let us know why you don't, and let us know what you think it may be. Well, I think we have got to the bottom of that. Another thing we can look at, sorry, I forgot to show you, in the bird book, a very important thing when working out which bird is which, is to check the distribution maps. Now, we occur somewhere roughly about there. We're right on the border of Tanzania. That's this line here. And so definitely the heart-libs does occur here. And if we look up at the black-bellied, it's very widespread. and definitely overlapping here. So they both do overlap. Marvelous. Okay, well, the quest for fancy birds continues, and you're going to be jumping onto Ali's vehicle to see what she can find.
Got a beautiful male waterbuck. Now, I don't think this is one of the oldest boys in the area, just judging by the size of its horns, but he's still quite a decent size and still looking quite healthy. And just obviously busy ruminating away. And if you wonder what ruminating is, well, you can see that mouth opening and closing almost like it's eating some bubble gum or some chewing gum in a very rude manner. So just further breaking down everything he's already eaten to then try and pass it along the digestive system and just make sure that all the nutrients and everything else is absorbed. Because if what they eat is not small enough, then it's going to not carry on passing through the rumen and then onto the rest of the process, but it's going to come back up and they're going to have to do their job all over again. Now, they do this because they have one of the most efficient digestive systems out here in the bush that allows them to grow big and strong. And normally what comes in only comes out about 4 days later. Now those beautiful horns, that only comes with age. I can hear another tiny owl in the distance, and I'm sure that's what he's listening to. There was likely a pearl-spotted owlet because it was going, the typical call. Oh, I can't whistle this morning. But I'm sure that's what you were listening to, weren't you? And now we're back to ruminating. You're looking very nice with your winter coat. I certainly wish I had as much. Hello, boy. Now, there's another noise coming not too far from where we are, and it seems like we've also been lucky with the birds this morning. Now, we've got some, I don't know if you can show here, because we've got a pair of red-billed buffalo weavers just on the branch of this tree. Sorry, it's quite interesting because they keep coming in and out, and I think they're doing some repairs to that beautiful messy nest of theirs. Sometimes you wonder how the whole thing just doesn't fall off. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I rude? Oops. Keeps coming in and out, and I think the other one just flew away. Perhaps it's going to come... Oh, now they're both gone. Perhaps they're going to carry on looking for little branches just to be able to add onto this structure. Because they're communal birds, so there will be a lot of them nesting in there. So I think maybe that's what they're doing. Perhaps there are more birds that are nesting in there, and that's where they've gone. Now, our friend the waterbuck is still around, but I think we're going to leave him and carry on with our search for elephants. This was roughly the direction where the elephants were coming into, or that one elephant was coming into where we left him. So we thought maybe if we came around, we would be able to see it. Fortunately, it seems like that was not the case. We're going to carry on in the search, but while we try and find this elephant, let's go over to Scott, who's managed to find another one of the big five.
Well, this is certainly a fine specimen of one of the most deadly of the big five, the Cape buffalo. Look at the size of that guy's horns. He is an absolute beast regarding fancy headwear. Interestingly, the biggest buffalo amongst them is actually off to the right. Look at the size of that guy's body. I mean, it doesn't even have a neck. It's just body and then a head on the end. It is huge. But the horns aren't as impressive, so a bit of a mixed batch. And quite interesting to note the different sizes and heights and shapes of these buffalo. All big old men, but all kind of different in their own little way. I think you all agree, though, that the one on the right is a brute, short and stocky. They were getting a little bit worked up just before we got here. I was hoping they were going to try and settle a dominance dispute. I've never seen buffalo having a full-blown fight, so it'll be something very, very interesting to witness. But it seems like things have calmed down now, and these big old boys are probably making their way down to the swamp that we are also going to. Who knows, maybe they'll be met by some resistance with Fang and his 2 coalition partners. It's a coalition of 3 dominant male lions that are in charge of this area, and I'm fairly certain that they'll probably know these big old boys on a first-hand basis from previous experiences where they've failed to successfully bring them down. It's something I always wonder about. You know, we come and look at these animals and we do get to know a lot of them very well, but not nearly as well as they get to know one another. So things like hyenas and lions interacting and buffalo and lions interacting and how many times they've met up with one another in precarious situations where either one of the species is trying to kill the other. You kind of wonder if the buffalo look over and be like, oh, it's Fang again. Haven't seen him for a week. Life's been good. And the reason why I like to think about these things quite a lot is that you do see these random sightings. For example, the other evening we were with a pride of lion that managed to bring down a waterbuck. There was, I think, 4 lioness that were feeding on this waterbuck, and a hyena came in and started co-feeding, literally head-to-head with these lions. So for me, I wonder if these lion have, well, you know, the hyena have over time worked up a kind of relationship, knowing that they can take chances with certain prides and not with others. But I guess the more time we spend out here, especially after cover of darkness, we are going to get better insight into these interesting relationships. Hello to Mia. You would like to know if these buffalo dewlaps coincide with their age. When they get big and old, their dewlaps increase with size, as would the leopard. And yes, they are very similar regarding the big male leopards and that extra flap of skin dangling below their neck. An eland is another incredible beast that can develop a massive, massive dewlap, probably one of the biggest dewlaps I've ever seen on an African animal. It can be like a curtain dangling down from their lower chin. So that will be something we need to try and point out to you. Oh, little Ellie in the background, so we are getting spoiled here as the guys in Djuma try their best to track things down. Everything seems to just be flopping in front of us here. So enjoying our fortune of good sightings this morning. Elizabeth, you would like to know what determines the size of buffalo's horns. And just like us, I guess, as humans, genetics will play a very large role. But then one's upbringing will also have a big impact. So if we are born in a time of plenty, not in a plague or a war, it would be more likely to grow up big and strong, eating tasty meals like wholesome homemade burgers. And the same goes for buffalo. If buffalo, even with good genes, get born during a drought and the first few years of their life are bleak, it probably isn't going to put them on good stead to be a monster, even though their genes would have had it that way had they had the required food. But I think it is mainly genetic, barring any major kind of natural disasters that would prevent animals from getting their required food. Oh, well, we've got one fancy bird that's just popped up here. It's at 10 o'clock. It's probably been here the whole time. We just haven't been looking very clearly. It's just on a termite mound. And then we're going to rush you across to Ali, who's got what I am certain is even more fancy than this incredibly focused black-headed heron. Ooh. Oh, yes, what has it got? It's got a mouse. Can you believe it? We have just seen a black-headed heron catch a shrew. I think it was a shrew. It seemed to have a long nose. Well, that was some seriously fortunate timing. And seriously good start to the day. If I was a black-headed heron, I could think of nothing better than a little shrew for breakfast. That looked very tasty. Shame the shrew didn't even stand a chance, and it went down this black-headed heron's gullet alive, which is Not ideal, I guess, for the shrew, nor the internal organs of this black-headed heron, who's going to have a shrew skidding around there for a moment. I mean, isn't it just incredible how focused and effective this bird's hunting technique was? It coiled up. It looks like it's swallowing a few extra bits and pieces there to try and help get that shrew down. I'm not sure what it was nibbling on there. Looked like some possible roughage to mix with its high-protein breakfast. Well, it's too good to leave this bird that is evidently on a quest to find some more food. So let's give it a moment or two, unless, of course, Ali's very beautiful bird is looking like it may flutter off, or it could have been up in the air. I'm not too... Oof, it's very successful morning. That looked like some kind of an insect. So a wide diet of small invertebrates, vertebrates, mammals, reptiles, insects. They'll feed on most things that are squiggling through this grass. Now, a lot of you may be used to seeing herons hunting around water sources. They are predominantly water hunters, but this individual, the black-headed heron, we only find away from water in large open grassy plains. They're a widespread bird. You get them down in South Africa as well. But again, just like the Hadida ibis we saw earlier, I think these black-headed herons have a slightly different look, slightly different coloration to the black-headed herons down south. I think the ones back home in South Africa have got a more black head, whereas this is more of a gunmetal grey head. I'm so happy we got such good timing to see it nab that shrew out the grass. What a thing. Phew. That is a serious hunting machine, if I've ever seen one. Alrighty then. Well, I think we are going to venture forth. We've got a lot of distance to cover to try and get to all the different spots I would like to show you this morning, and we've got some good news. Ali has successfully managed to track down some elephants.
We have. All of our driving around was definitely worth it, because we've been able to find this bull again, and now that we are pretty much eye to eye, we can tell that it's a young bull. So it keeps us puzzled as to why he's being so grumpy. Oh, I heard another branch break. Maybe we are surrounded by elephants that we can't see. Interesting. Alright, definitely cannot see any other elephant but the one that we are looking at. And when we first arrived, he was a bit shaking of the ears, flapping of the ears. But I think it was more to the fact that we just came around a corner and bumped into each other. He seems to be very happy now, feeding on his very thorny tree. Hello, beautiful elephant. You see how careful he is in putting everything to the back of his mouth where the molars are? And if it's too thorny, what do? We just drop it on the floor. I don't think that's the way your mama taught you. He's definitely carried on moving in a certain direction towards the east, so I wonder if perhaps he's actually not trailing the rest of his herd. Maybe he's just gotten somewhat lost, and he is still here, but he's hiding behind the bushes, so I wonder if maybe he bumped into something earlier on, and that's why he's been a bit edgy. It could definitely be. Now, I thought I heard something else on this side, but I can't see anything, so it's just maybe